Hello and welcome to this introduction to Sapphire 11 Sparks for Flame with integrated Mocha roto masking and tracking. I'll begin by dragging a spark node into my batch tree, which launches the Sparks browser. I'll select S-Rays and connect my source clip to the front input socket on the spark node, and S-Rays is applied with its default settings. I'll double click the spark node to launch the Spark editor. In the Crop Help submenu, I'll hit the Load Preset button to launch the preset browser, and select a preset. Now I'll tweak the effect settings as required. The rays are being triggered from all of the highlights on this plate, but I want to trigger them off the flame and the lamp, so I'll mask the lamp with Mocha. In the Crop Help submenu, I'll hit the Edit Mocha button. This launches the Mocha UI in a floating window. I'll click the Draw X-Spline Shape button, plot the points on the shape I want to track, and right-click the mouse to close the shape. Dragging on a tangent handle adjusts the tension on the tangent, and right-clicking and dragging on a tangent adjusts the tension on all tangents. When I move to a later frame and adjust the shape position by dragging the white Transform widget, a roto keyframe is created because auto keyframing is enabled in the transport bar. I'd like to track the shape, so I'll hit the Next Keyframe button, delete the roto keyframe, return to frame 1, and hit the Track Forwards button to track the shape to the end of the shot. When I hit the Show Mask button, the mask is displayed over the source image. Now I'm happy with my shape, I'll hit the Save button to store my animated mask and hit the Exit button to return to the Spark editor. Now the highlights triggering the rays are limited by the Mocha mask. In the Crop Mask submenu I can show the Mocha mask, invert it, add blur, adjust its opacity, and bypass it. In the next example I've applied the S-Motion blur mask, and I'd like to protect the talent from being affected by it, so I'll double click the Spark node to launch the editor and hit the Edit Mocha button to launch the Mocha UI. I'll click the Draw X-Spline Shape button, plot the points on the shape, and relax the tangents. Now I'll start tracking my shape, and pause tracking where I want to insert roto keyframes. I'll marquee select the points I want to move, and adjust their position with the Transform widget, and repeat these steps as required. Now I'll hit the Uber key button. Uber key modifies all keyframes with any parameter adjustments. Now I'll enter a value for edge softness in the Edge Properties panel, and this is applied across all keyframes. I'll invert the shape in the Layer Properties tab, save, and exit back to the Spark editor. I'd like to colour correct the shot through the same mask, but as Mocha isn't available in the native Flame toolset, I'll return to Mocha, go to the File menu, and export my Mocha setup. This can now be reloaded in any Sapphire Sparks in Flame or any other Sapphire host application. I'll add the S-Mocha Spark, which contains the standalone Mocha toolset for generating masks. I'll edit into it and load the setup I created earlier. Now the resulting mask can be fed into the matte input socket on my color corrector node. It's worth noting that Mocha setups from any Mocha host on any OS can be loaded into Sapphire Sparks. In the next example I pulled a key on my foreground with a modular keyer, and I want to hide the rigging, so I'll edit into my S-Mocha node to show the setup I prepared. I'd like to use this in the modular keyer, so I'll export it as a Flame G mask. I'll edit into my modular keyer, go to my Gmask node and load the Gmask I exported earlier. I'll set the colour for each shape, animate the opacity for the occlusion mask for the gun muzzle, save, and return to batch to view the result. Lastly, we'll take a look at precision tracking in Mocha and exporting tracker data to Flame. My goal here is to track the sport clip into the laptop screen, so I'll begin by editing into the S-Mocha node. This is a challenging plate, with tight angles and a lot of reflection and shadows, so I'll plot around the features which provide the best hints to Mocha's planar tracker. I'll hit the Add X-Spline to Shape button and plot around the reflections, which could introduce an error to the planar track. When a spline is added inside an existing one in this way, a Boolean operation is performed, cutting a hole in the parent shape. Now only the useful features in the plane are visible to the tracker. I'd like to focus on my tracker results, so I'll hide the shape overlays and hit the Show Planar Surface button. This is a visualization of the 4-point track being measured on the plane. I'll align my surface with the plane I'm tracking. I'll enable perspective tracking and increase the percentage of pixels used for analysis to improve tracking precision. I'll show my shape overlay, enable the planar grid and commence tracking. Now I'll export my track. There are two export options. Point Tracker, which saves a separate track for each corner and the center point, and Stabilizer, which saves a 4-point track. I'll save the stabilizer data. I also want to export a mask for color correcting the screen, so I'll hide my initial tracking shape and create another shape for the screen. I already have the track data I need on the other shape, so I'll link this to my new shape in the Layer Properties panel. I'll set the mask overlay color for this layer and show it. Now I have a mask for my color correction in my S-Mocha node. In Action, I'll select the Surface node for the foreground layer, set its mode to bilinear, which can be corner pinned, open the Vertices submenu and enter the Stabilizer. Here I can load the tracker data I exported from Mocha. I'd like to retain the reflections and shadows on the screen from the background plate, so I'll change the image's blending mode. Finally, I'll apply color correction in the batch node masked by the output of the S-Mocha Spark. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow Boris Effects on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with the latest information and training materials on Continuum, Sapphire, Mocha Pro and all of the Boris Effects products.